Ever felt that no matter how much effort you put into improving yourself, things just don't seem to click? That you work harder, or you get more ideas, or you think positive thoughts, or you have your atomic habits, but it just feels like you're stuck and going around in circles, and you're just trying to fix it and trying to make resolutions, and you're just looking for the key that's just going to unlock it and make it all happen. But what happens if the problem is not you? What happens if the problem is the environment that you're in? Let's dive into a slightly better way of becoming a better person. Well, welcome to my channel. My name is Derek, and for the last 3 decades I've been helping people explore faith and showing them how it can relate to their ordinary everyday life. And in these videos I'm just giving you little nudges, little tools that might help you live a deeper and a more meaningful life. So we all want to be different, don't we? We all want to be a better person in some way. Some of us want to be wiser, some of us want to be more self-controlled, some of us want to be less anxious or fearful, some of us want to be stronger or to have more courage, take more risks. Maybe some of us want all those things. We could make like a list. We're just aware of our inadequacies. And so we try and we fail. That we come up with ways to be better. We make resolutions and we try harder and we become determined. And we maybe make lists and we make promises to ourselves. But what happens if we've been just thinking about it all wrong? The idea that it's down to us and our habits, or it's down to us and the decisions that we make. Maybe there is something else at work here. Something I've been thinking about a lot this week, over the last few weeks really, is the idea that even the healthiest seeds struggle to grow in unhealthy soil. And maybe it's not about the seed, it's not about you. Maybe it's about the soil, maybe it's about the environment. Now think about where you're planted. Think about what nourishments are around you, or what toxins are around you. What sort of stuff are you taking in to your life on an everyday basis? What is around you? Where are you? Because it doesn't matter how strong or capable you are, how much willpower you've got, if the soil around you is bad, if the nourishment and the things that you're taking in are bad for you, or you're not getting the things that you need, then you're going to struggle. And most of us spend our lives on surface level type fix. We're trying to fix the symptoms. You're trying to get rid of our anxiety or our bitterness, or we're trying to get rid of our tiredness and our exhaustion, and we're working harder and trying to come up with new ways of doing things, or we're just trying to numb the pain, or whatever it might be. But thing is, if you've got a car that's struggling because you put the wrong fuel in it, and then no matter any amount of pressing the buttons on the dashboards and twiddling knobs and all that sort of stuff is going to make any difference until you deal with the source of the fuel. If you get the right fuel in, then actually everything else tends to take care of itself, or everything else tends to be much easier. But if the fuel source is bad, if the fuel source isn't what you need, then actually the car's never going to work. The engine's never going to take off. It's never going to work out. And there's a moment where Jesus is talking to his followers about this. He's coming towards the end of his life. He knows he's going to die. And so he's given them last pieces of wisdom and advice. And in typical Jesus fashion, he cuts through the noise and he just gets straight to the heart of it in John 15. And this is what he says in verse 4, I think it is. He says to his followers, he said, I want you to abide in me and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. He's saying you can't bear fruit unless you abide in me. By abide, he means stay connected. It means remain with. It means where you dwell, where you are, where you place yourself. He's saying if you want to bear fruit, the kind of symptoms, the things that come out your life are about being connected to something that's greater than yourself. So where are you abiding? Where are you connected to? Where are you dwelling? What's around you? We often ask to each other, how are you doing? How are you doing? Where maybe we should say, where are you abiding? Where are you connected? Where are you drawing your nourishment from? What's kind of coming in? Because that actually will then answer the question of how are you doing? And think about it. Where are you dwelling? Where are you abiding? Where are you placing your connections? Where are you drawing stuff from? For many of us, isn't it? It's online. It's TikTok and Instagram Reels, we turn to that stuff when we're a bit bored or a bit low, or we just spend a lot of time, or there's a lot around notifications and our updates and scrolling the news, that actually whenever there's a spare minute, we fill it. And for many of us, there's no abiding in space or stillness or just giving our head space. Some of us abide in the place of overwork. We fill ourselves with projects and activities, and that can be paid work, it can be household type works, it can be projects or ideas. We can dwell, we can abide in those places. That's where we draw our nourishment from and our help. And others, it's in those relationships and connections with other people. And what is the quality of that? You know, some of us abide in negativity and gossip and criticism, and that's a place where we are, maybe in the office or the workplace or a family, and there's just lots of negativity and bringing other people down, and the connections are built on gossip. There's certain social media platforms that build their money on being a place of gossip and criticism and fake news that kind of rips other people apart. And so where do you dwell? Because here is the thing. You know, whatever we dwell determines the fruit. I think there's this, it's a bit of a cheesy phrase, but your roots determine your fruit. You know, wherever you dwell will determine what fruit that you see in our lives. And if we're really honest with ourselves, sometimes we look at where we've dwelt, where we spent our time, what we've been taken into our lives, and then we're like, oh, no wonder I'm anxious, fearful. No wonder there's a lack of courage. No wonder I'm not living a bigger life. No wonder I'm not just filled with peace and contentment. And we beat ourselves up and we try and fix the surface stuff all the time. Our roots are in unhealthy soil. I remember I was going through this season in my life when God spoke to me. He said to me that you are to double your time with me in the morning. Part of my own practices, I'll spend time in quiet and prayer and reading the Bible in the morning. And there was this season where God said, I want you to double that time. All right, twice as much, which is actually, it was quite difficult for me to do. And it meant I was going to do like slightly less work. I'd get to work later and all that sort of stuff. But I just felt it was right. And so I just did it. And I blocked in twice as much time every day. And then what happened is I hit one of the worst storms in my life. The job I was in, I was at a senior position in the job, and but I was bringing in some changes, but there was other people in the organisation that weren't happy with that. And so they kind of formed this group, and they were trying to oust me, and there was whisper, and there was gossip, and there was slander campaign. There was all sorts of stuff kind of going on to get me out. And it rocked me. I don't handle conflict very well, to be honest. I quite like people to like me. But God ahead of time had told me actually I need to double the strength of my roots. And I survived that experience and the changes that God had called me to bring, I brought through, but only just. Do you know what I mean? I was hanging on by my fingertips at the time. And I wonder what fruit in my life would have come if I hadn't doubled my depth of my roots at that time. And I haven't done that for all the time. I did that for about 12 months and then I went into a new season. But the kind of point I'm making, I guess, is that we get to decide. Do you know what I mean? We get to decide where we abide. And it's obviously plants are planted in unhealthy soil. They can't get up and go somewhere else. If an engine has got the wrong fuel in it, it can't head off to the garage and empty it, etc. It has no control. But we're different. We get to decide and we can change things at any point. And I wanted to suggest just 3 simple steps that you could just like ponder through. And it's not like a guilt trip. It's not about religion and things you have to do and that you're not good enough and you don't do these things. But listening to the invitation of the Holy Spirit. And I think that he just very gently wants us to take the first step where we just audit our inputs, where we just look honestly at what's around us and where we are abiding and where we are drawing stuff. And we just look at it honestly and go, okay, what's going on here? You know, what are my rhythms? What are my habits? What do I look at first thing in the morning? You know, what do I talk about with my colleagues at lunchtime? You know, what do I watch? What are the things that I'm bringing into my life? And what effect are they having? All right, this is not a judgment thing, but it's good to just know where we stand. And then the second step is just think, actually, do I want to do a swap? Am I happy with all that? Or actually, do I want to do a swap? Now, what you can't do is just delete stuff. If you just say, well, I'm not going to do that anymore, because If there's a vacuum, then you'll just fill it with crap again. So you have to do a swap, which might think, first thing in the morning, I'm not going to do that, or I'm no longer going to do that, but instead I'm going to do this. Instead of gossiping with my colleagues at lunchtime, I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to hang out with that friend, or actually I'm going to ask this question in a meeting, or whatever it might be. You've got to do a swap. You can't just say, I'm not going to do that anymore. You can't just do a negative. You've got to think about very specific and practically what I would replace it with. So step one is like, do this kind of audit and just honestly survey the landscape, and then think about if there's any swaps that you want to make. And then the last thing, and this is really around how change happens for us and how we make changes in our lives, is to pick only one. And so what normally will happen when I'm talking to people like this, they'll say all the things that are wrong and they feel terrible, and they make all sorts of plans and resolutions and say, I'm going to do this every day, I'm going to do 20 of these or whatever. And the truth is, you can only change one thing. Right? You cannot change things. You can make 5 resolutions, and in a month's time I'll phone you up and they will not have happened. All right, to change one thing takes a lot of mental effort and a lot of willpower, a lot of help of the Holy Spirit. So just pick one and make it really small. Pick something that's so small that you can't fail at. All right, you want something that is easy to change, that you can imagine, actually I could do that for the rest of my life. In the next 12 months I could make that change, no problem. All right, if you make it like a big resolution, it's like, can you do that for 12 months time? Are you likely to be still doing that? Because the power comes in doing things for a long time, not just like once. Yeah, for one day you think, I'm going to pray for 15 minutes today and not watch reels, and you do that once for 15 minutes, it's not really going to transform your life. But if you do something for 12 months, no matter how small, then we start to get into the groove. Then things become really, really possible. So start really small. Pick it like the easiest thing and make it something that you want to do. Not something that you have to do, but something that you want to think, yeah, actually, I would like to do more of that. I would like to do that. And then what you'll find is when you change the soil, you'll change the fruit. You don't need to worry so much about the fear or the anxiety or having courage or resilience or whatever it is, that the fruit will come when you change where your roots are. And so that's it. And it's an invitation for Jesus. It's not rule, not legalism, but trust me, trust me, trust me. If you change where you're planted, then actually you'll change what you see in the fruit of your life. And if you're stuck for some ideas of things that you could do, then want to check out this video, and I just talk about the 5 things I do every single week to stay spiritually strong. And you don't have to do everything that I do, but maybe it might give you a few ideas. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.